What's up, guys? KS here. Thanks for joining me today as always. A little confession. I'm a fan of the Smith & Wesson Shield. I make no bones about it and have no problem proudly talking about my primary carry. It's lightweight and thin, but big enough to enjoy shooting for long periods of time. It's by no means perfect, nor is any gun, but it performs its role as a concealed carry gun with ease. The original Shield has been in production since 2012 and received a refresh in the form of the 2.0 in late 2017, while the 45 was introduced in 2016. Due to its longevity and popularity, the Shield commands a solid share in the aftermarket world with such accessories as sights, triggers, barrels, other mods, and endless holster options. Smith & Wesson didn't stop there. The Shield 4-inch model was recently released, perhaps to capture a bit of Glock's Model 48 limelight. Time will tell on that, and frankly, options are always good. In my mind, it does have a notable advantage to the 48. I'll explain that later. At the time of this video, the 4-inch is supported by Smith's renowned performance-centered tuning. Multiple models and calibers are available, and there's even an optics version which includes a dedicated red dot. The same features that appeared on the 2.0 and the 45 remain, with a couple of notable, yet not perfect changes. Now it's time to dive in and check out the Smith & Wesson 4-inch Shield. Alright, let's take a look at a couple of comparisons with the Shield 4-inch. I imagine you guys have questions about a variety of different firearms. You guys are always leaving comments saying compared to this, compared to that, which I love. Thank you for that, by the way. So I decided to bring out actually quite a few different guns just to kind of get the point across here a little bit. Of course, the 4-inch on top. Now that 4-inch is going to be 7 inches in length, and it's going to be 4.5 inches high. Now if we look at the Shield, the regular Shield, they are identical from the back. They really are, with the exception of the sights. But again, that length is going to be where things are a little bit different. Now, both of these are going to be 1.03 inches wide. And the weight unloaded on the 4-inch is 22.75 ounces. So about 1.5 ounces or so heavier than the regular 2.0. You fact check me down below. I don't have the specs with this right now. But again, it's going to add a little bit of meat with that extra length. Now, because everybody's curious, we'll bring in the M&P 2.0C. This is the 4-inch model, and the 4-inch is exactly the same length, that 4-inch Shield. I mean, they really are basically identical twins, with the exception of one has been on a diet and the other one has been enjoying the potato chips just a little bit more. But I'd actually be on the potato chip side. But again, these guys are very close for sure. But I bet there's one other comparison you guys probably want to see. All right, the gun I bet you guys are all wondering about, of course, is the Glock 48. This came out earlier this year and has been met with mostly good things, perhaps, mostly good reception, but some people have kind of pawned it off a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if the Shield 4-inch receives the same reception. Now, you guys noticed I switched this out for the 8-round magazine for just a moment or two because I think that's a closer comparison, and I'll explain here in just a moment. But again, in terms of length, these guys are neck and neck. There is hardly a difference whatsoever. And in terms of height, again, there really isn't much of a difference. In fact, let's do this. Let's lay these guys on the table side by side here, get these guys together, and these guys are really one and the same. But again, the Shield in front is going to have 8 rounds max capacity out of the box versus 10 rounds with the Glock 48. The thing is, and some people are going to say more rounds is better. I totally understand that. However, when we think about concealed carry, the thing that people struggle with the most is the grip length, because that's the thing that's going to print. And all of a sudden you throw that 7-round magazine in there, and there is actually a pretty significant difference, about ½ an inch, maybe even a little bit more than that. And so I think Smith & Wesson was pretty smart to do that, because you can always get extended base plates. You can make the grip bigger, you can put more rounds in it, but you can't necessarily shave anything off. We're going to take a walk around the frame of the Shield here in just a moment, but to get a little bit closer up on these magazines, the 7-round flat magazine, I can get about 2.5 fingers on this, but it's enough to hold on to. It's not too bad, but it does include, of course, the 8-round magazine that also extends the grip texture a little bit, and it serves as a really, really nice full-size grip. It's thinner, of course, than its bigger brothers, but still, you get plenty of purchase on that without question. And there's a little bit of a lip down at the bottom of both magazines to help yank the magazine out if you have any sort of malfunctions or anything like that. Now, the big thing that the 2.0 Shields and the other 2.0 M&P guns are known for is the aggressive grip texture. And I'll tell you what, aggressive it is. There's no doubt about it. There are days, if I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, something like that, that I really feel this on me. And sometimes it gets a little bit annoying, and I've been tempted periodically to throw some grip texture, grip tape, something on it just to soften it up a little bit. And I may still do that at some point in time, but I've tried to hold to the Smith & Wesson aggressive grip mantra at this point. But again, we shall see. But the rest of the grip is very well contoured. I mean, I think they do a really good ergonomic job. These guns are very comfortable to hold. They tend to melt in most people's hands pretty well, especially considering how thin it is, and they do a good job with that. Now, when we talk about the controls, our magazine release is right here. It is not ambidextrous out of the box, nor is it swappable. So for left-handed shooters, that might be a little bit of an issue. Not for me so much. I'm a righty. It's not too big of a deal. And then we do have our slide stop slide release, and it does serve as both. Although it's a little stiff in the beginning, it does work itself in. So again, not too big of an issue. Not ambidextrous though, once again. So this is really not a left-hand friendly gun if that's a consideration for you. Now, being as small as single stacks are, that oftentimes is the case. Now, we do have our disassembly lever. We will take it apart just a little bit later on, but once again, it's very easy to do. Now, the rest of the frame is actually pretty low-key. It's pretty boring. There's no accessory rail for lights, lasers, chainsaws, anything like that, nor is there any texture on the front of the trigger guard. So if you use that as part of your shooting grip, no texture, so you might slide off there a little bit. But again, everything is pretty much as you would expect for any Smith & Wesson Shield. Moving on to the slide, one thing you'll notice right off the bat with the new 4-inch shield is the fact that it says Performance Center. Now, all of the 4-inch models are tuned by the Performance Center, and there are a variety of different models, different calibers. There are even some that come with an optic, not just cut for it, but it actually comes with the optic as well. That's pretty cool. A lot of people are getting into optics, so it's nice that they have that option. But the rest of the slide is pretty much as you would expect, with the exception of the additional length. It does have some fish scale serrations on the front. I've not found these to be terrifically usable. I mean, if you do press checks, I suppose they're okay. It's more for aesthetics, and frankly, I'm glad they did it. It breaks up the slide just a little bit. But it also says M&P 9 Shield, of course, and as we move back, it does have the Smith & Wesson logo and the back fish scale serrations, and I love these. I'm a really big fan. I think they're very nicely done. They work well. They're aggressive enough. They don't beat you up or anything, but you can really get a good hold on the slide. So again, big fan of that. And then we've got our other side as well. Now, one thing I can't stand is the fact that it says caution, capable of firing without magazine, or with magazine removed rather. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of banners like that, but whatever, we'll deal with it. Not that big of a deal, I suppose. And then as we move up to the sights, you'll notice right off the bat that the Performance Center shields, they do come with the front and rear fiber optics on this. So we've got our front green fiber optic, and I didn't change it out. You guys know I like green fiber optic. I just left it as is, of course. And then our red fiber optic as well. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more in the shooting experience about the sights, but I will tell you, I don't like them, and I don't like them one bit. But again, I'll go into detail on that here in just a moment. But otherwise, guys, that is the slide of the 4-inch shield. Before we disassemble the shield, one thing that it did come with was actually a cleaning kit, and this is from, again, the Performance Center. This is actually a really nice little add-on. I wish more firearms did this, and it's kind of a full array of cleaning gear with the exception of oils or solvents, but still really nice. If this is your first firearm or you need some sort of traveling cleaning kit, this is a really nice little solution and a good add-on. It zips closed, of course, and we'll talk again about price here in just a little while, but a really nice add-on, a really nice touch. I appreciate this very much. All right, let's go ahead and disassemble the shield and see what's going on the inside. Now, you will need to lock it open, of course. Now, there's a little tab on the inside, and I'll show it to you here in just a minute, that you can swing down when the gun is like this, and then when you release your slide, the slide will just come off, so you don't have to pull the trigger. I don't really care one way or the other because we know it's unloaded and people dry fire all the time, so I don't mind pulling the trigger. So I'm going to go ahead and release the slide as is, pull the trigger, and the slide does come right off. But that little lever is this little yellow lever right here, and you just swing it down like that with any tool, screwdriver, punch, something like that. And then again, if you release your slide, that slide will come right off. So kind of a handy deal if you don't want to pull the trigger. Now everything else disassembles like pretty much all common guns out there, and we'll take a look at our slide. And the slide is just pretty much what you would expect, of course, for a shield. Very easy to maintain, very easy to clean. Everything's easy to get to, all that good stuff. You can use that cleaning kit to maneuver around in here, of course. So just as you would expect, if you want to see the barrel is already showing a little bit of wear. I've only got 300 rounds through this so far, but shields tend to wear a little bit, and then they kind of calm down and just keep right on going. But pretty standard stuff, not too big of a deal. And then we do have our spring and guide rod assembly, which is fine. It is steel, which is cool. It's captive. It's not dual recoil or anything like that. And again, our frame, exactly what you would expect from a shield. So nothing terrifically exciting there, but that's pretty much what you can expect. And then getting it all back together, of course, we just reverse the process. We'll get our barrel in, make sure that it's seated, and then our guide rod, make sure it is seated like so. And then we'll throw our frame on. And again, we do have to lock it back like this. We'll swing our lever around, and then we are good to go. Now, if you guys remember, that little bar is actually still down right now. So if I was to try and pull the trigger, it's actually a dead trigger. The gun is not broken. Don't worry about that. All you need to do is chuck in a magazine, an empty magazine, something like that. And of course, you do need to rack the slide, but then your trigger will work. So kind of an interesting function on the Smith & Wesson shield. But again, there is your disassembly. The shooting experience with the shield was good, though not without one significant challenge, which I'll get to in a moment. The most notable advantage to the gun is its aggressive grip texture. It's all but guaranteed to lock in your hands to help maintain a solid grip. The size of the grip is small, though large enough to comfortably hold, and adding the 8-round extended mag makes for an almost full-size experience. The recoil impulse is there but manageable, and muzzle flip is hardly an issue. Though we'll look more closely at the trigger in a moment, I will say it's good. Very good. I mentioned one challenge or really frustration with this shield. It's the sights. Yes, it's fiber optics all around, which one would think is ideal for sight acquisition. Friends, I will tell you, it's not. Or at least for this shooter. The green front fiber optic does glow brightly, and paired with the right blacked out rear, it would be awesome. Enter the rear sights. 2 red fiber optics that too glow brightly, meaning there's a lot of visual noise staring back at you. During slow fire, all was well. The gun was very accurate. At speed, my eyes tried to track all 3 sights, causing errant rounds 4 or 5 inches off center. If there's one mod to make, I'd change the sights immediately. Aside from the sights, however, the Shield 4-inch is a worthy shooter. Alright, let's take a look at the trigger of the Shield for a moment or two. This is actually about take 6 on this, believe it or not. So the first thing you'll notice on this, it is a hinged design, which means that the lower half of the trigger does need to actuate first in order for that safety blade to disappear in the back of the trigger. So I will tell you right off the bat, I'm not a fan of this. I'd rather have the safety lever in the middle, kind of like a Glock or something like that, or no safety lever at all. But we work with what we work with, so we'll deal with this. Now keep in mind, it is tuned by the Performance Center, so we're going to see some differences for sure. We have our take up and it's incredibly smooth. No grit or anything like that. I've had bad experiences with older Smith & Wessons that were very gritty, that sort of thing. This is not the case. And then we get to a nice defined wall, and there's your break, and it's coming in at about 4 pounds, 10 ounces pretty consistently on the Lyman gauge, and that's actually really impressive. And there's your reset. It's somewhat audible, it's tactile, I mean, it's not too bad. And then we get back out to the start, and of course we'll do this a couple more times. We have our take up to the wall. There's your break. I have to say, I like the break on this trigger quite a bit. And then our reset, right there, and a follow-up shot. Overall, the action on this trigger and the feel of the trigger is quite impressive. I think the Performance Center did a really good job with this. So guys, what do I think of the Smith & Wesson Shield 4-inch overall? Overall, I like it. It's got a lot of things going for it. It's got the aggressive grip texture, which on most days I can appreciate, and on some days I really don't. It's got the 7 and 8 round capacity, which means it's going to be really easy to conceal. It's got a little extra length in front, which adds some weight, adds a little sight radius as well, makes it very accurate, and it's tuned by the Performance Center. That trigger out of the box is actually really impressive. Now for the sights, I will tell you I don't like them. I don't like the idea of 3 fiber optics staring back at me. I'd rather have one high definition front sight and then a blacked out rear or something less complicated in back, because I like front sight acquisition. That leads us to the price. The MSRP on the regular Shield 4-inch is $532, and the Optics Ready MSRP is $826. That's a little bit pricey, I have to admit. Now, the street price is going to be less than that, and over time they will drop, but still, they're a little bit expensive right now. But again, overall, I like it, and it'll be interesting to see how it does in the market. Now, guys, be sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the Shield 4-inch, if you've got some experience with it, and what you're wondering about it as well. I'm sure I've missed a couple of things in this video, and I love talking with you guys in the comments. Otherwise, thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.